A foot steps up onto the ledge of a roof, legs shakily balancing as if not to fall. A hand reaches out and firmly presses against the wall beside the person as they cautiously walk further across the ledge. The cars bustling on the streets below beckon for the person to jump, to save themselves the hassle of living in this cruel world any longer. The person raises one foot into the air when something suddenly stops them.
Jumping won't save you, Aimee.
A voice politely interjects. I don't care. Anything is better than being here. Aimee sobs.
You say that, but is it really worth being splattered across the sidewalk below?
The voice questions. Aimee takes a moment to look down. Her heart begins to beat faster upon realizing just how high up she had gone. How much the impact of hitting the pavement would hurt, if it would hurt at all. She wipes away the tears that had fallen down her cheeks. She is far too upset to admit climbing onto the sledge was a bad idea. That it was a mistake to choose such a rainy night when her feet could slip at any given moment and send her plummeting to her death. Yet, it was worth it in a way because then she would finally be free from all of the pain that she had been dealing with. No, Aimee firmly answers. I am just not sure what I want anymore, Colin.
You want a life,
Colin says. I haven't been on my own in 10 years.
Then spend your life with me.
What? Aimee's eyes widen.
I care about you.
Of course you do.
No, I really care about you.
Yeah, I know.
I'm in love with you, Aimee.
Colin admits.
I have been for a while now.
Those words echo inside of Aimee's ears as she opens her eyes. She notices that she is still standing on the ledge. Tears are still rolling down her cheek. She turns her head to the left to see that she is completely alone. Colin isn't there to save her like she had hoped, like she had wanted. Not even her abusive boyfriend, Steven, had come to her rescue, and that made her heart sink into the pit of her stomach. Aimee recalls the day that she had met Steven. It was a rainy spring day, much like this one, when she was walking down the hallway at her high school. She was walking alongside her best friend, Vanessa, when Steven approached her. She remembered that her heart began to wildly thump against her chest at the thought of an upperclassman wanting to have anything to do with her. She remembered the way he looked at her when he leaned down to peer into her beautiful green eyes. The smell of spearmint that hit her face when he opened his mouth and said her name. That day truly made her the happiest. Steven had asked her out. She, of course, had said yes, and the two became the talk of school for the next month. Aimee noticed something starting to change in Steven about 5 months into their relationship. The charm he had used on her wore off and he had become possessive, obsessive, controlling, and manipulative. Aimee no longer had been allowed to see her friends, no longer been allowed to associate with anyone that wasn't him, and the mere fact that she always had to see her family highly pissed Steven off because he wanted Aimee, in her fullest, to be his and his alone. Aimee eventually got used to the fact that she wouldn't ever have friends again, the fact that she wouldn't see her family much, if at all, once she graduated high school. Yet, none of that mattered the night Steven had first hit her. Nothing compared to the pain that she felt about the man who she loved, harming her in any type of way. Aimee spent from the time that she was 15 to the time that she turned 25, 2 days ago, always being alone while Steven was at work. Aimee didn't have internet, she didn't have video games, or a cell phone. No. The only thing that Aimee had were books. She wasted her days reading book after book about the perfect romance of imaginary people, which led her to realize just how awful Steven was to her. Whenever he had a bad day, she became his punching bag, but she couldn't leave because he had threatened to kill her family if she ever tried. Aimee was stuck in a horrible life, one that she was hoping to end soon, but then she met Colin. Colin was their next-door neighbor, a sweetly charming, handsomely kind man that always pushed notes under the back door for Aimee to read while she was alone. Aimee always rushed to answer the note, stuffing it back under the door so that nothing would remain inside of the house. Colin would sneak through the gated yard during the middle of the night to watch Stephen hit her, wanting so desperately to barge into their home and stop the madness that Stephen called love. Colin couldn't stand watching her be treated so poorly by that son of a bitch. He only stayed back because she had begged him to never interfere. Begged that he show the letters to the police if anything were to happen to her. Colin liked Aimee. He liked everything about her, and he liked her as more than just his friend. He wanted to take her away from the cruelty she was always subjected to. He wanted to run away, just the two of them, to a place where Stephen would never be able to find her. He wanted to meet her family, to have in-laws who saw the decency that he had. Yet, he knew that he wouldn't ever get the chance because Aimee wasn't going to leave the relationship she had now. She was too used to being the battered girlfriend. Too used to being someone's personal rag doll. He felt sorry for her. He truly did. But there was nothing that he could do to help the sweet woman he had fallen in love with. Colin made his feelings clear to Aimee. He had been upfront and honest about loving her, and all she could say was that she cared for him as well. But there would never be anything more than just a friendship. She knew that she had devastated him. She heard him break down outside of the back door when she told him that, which made her mourn the loss of her new friend. Aimee snaps back to reality when she hears two familiar voices calling out her name. She looks over to see both Stephen and Colin in the large window. Her heart beats faster upon seeing Colin's face. She too was in love with him and so desperately wanted to tell him so, but she knew that she wouldn't be able to if she jumped.
Aimee, please don't do it. You know I love you.
Colin hopefully shouts.
Aimee Lynn Pierce, get your ass inside of this window now, or so help me God, I will come out there and push you myself.
Stephen angrily demanded. No, Aimee sternly says. I will come in when and if I want to. You can't control me anymore, Stephen.
You're nothing but trouble. You have been a pain in my ass since the day we met.
Well, I have news for you, Stephen. You're not perfect either, Aimee screams. She is angry that Stephen dared to blame her for what he has driven her to. He dare blame her for the depression that she has no control over. Aimee watches as Stephen throws his leg over the window sill only to have Colin grab a hold of his shirt collar. Colin throws a quick punch to Stephen's stomach, causing him to fall backward. Colin quickly climbs out of the window. He extends his hand to Aimee, pleading for her to carefully walk toward him and start a wonderful, loving life with him. Aimee does just that. She cautiously places her foot back onto the ledge and begins to walk across it with her own hand extended. She wants nothing more than to take a hold of Colin's hand, to see what kind of life he can offer her. Aimee slowly walks across the ledge, her head peering down at the streets below, while her right hand firmly glides across the wall with every step she takes, when her foot suddenly slips. Aimee's body plunges from the roof, her back facing toward the street as she stares up at the sky. She can see the pure look of horror on Colin's face. She can feel herself falling fast toward the pavement, and the only thing she can think about is the regret she has for not telling Colin how she felt when she had the chance. She wasn't able to admit to him that she felt the same way he did, and now she would never get that opportunity. Aimee could feel the tears well to the brim of her eyes once more as Colin's face gets further and further away. Aimee shouts as loud as she possibly can that she is in love with Colin, but it doesn't matter. He can't hear her, and he never would again. Splat. Squish. Squish. The sound of Aimee's body hitting the pavement below can be heard from across the street. The squishing sound of people stepping on her entrails can be heard as people rush toward the building. The young woman who had been battling with depression for 10 years finally lost. She had finally done the only thing she knew to be of any help. She accidentally took her life. Colin rushes out of the front door of the building, tears rolling down his face and dropping from his chin as he drops to the ground. He angrily shouts up at the sky, knowing that God would be able to hear him. He had found the true love of his life, the soulmate he had spent 35 years searching for, and it was ripped away from him in a second, all because he hadn't met her sooner.